All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Happy Friday to everyone out there. It's December 15th. We got a decent-sized NBA slate to jump into in today's video. Like we always do, we're going to go through each and every one of these games. I'm going to talk about them. I'll give you my lean on the spread. I'll give you my lean on the total, but all of my final plays, if you do want to fade me, those plays are going to be in the pinned comment. Last night, we go 1 and 2. The only... And I say this even with like a crooked face. The only saving grace is the fact that our one win was a plus 170 hit in that same game parlay for the Thunder and Kings, the 5-legger. We love to see that, but the Heat money line, they don't come through, and it was a huge juiced play. The Warriors Clipper just barely catches the over. We had the under, so not all that great, and that means it's 2 days in a row now of more X's on the screen than green check marks, which kind of on that note, all the haters, the guppies out there in the comments, really feeling big, feeling like sharks in the water right now. And you know what? That's fine. You can have your moment. I'm okay with it. You know what I mean? We're still showing up after losses. But just as you leave these hate comments, as you're telling me to go off myself, just know that my mindset is they don't boo nobodies. So if you think you're getting through, if you think you're big, you know what in me, I don't think it's getting through. Like, you're leaving a comment. I'm making a video, right, for more people that enjoy it than the people that don't. So I'll leave it there, guys, because we got some crazy comments yesterday, and I went back and forth with a couple people, but nonetheless, guys, they don't boo nobodies. You got to keep that in mind. It's a great mindset for life. But yeah, 1 and 2 night last night. You don't love it. Hope to bounce back tonight on this nice Friday. In terms of a ride of the day, though, let's change up the vibe. Let's go, Jostin. I hope I'm saying your name right. I'm going to go with Jostin here. Has James Harden over 12.5 rebounds plus assists. We'll pump in some damn crowd noise for that one because James Harden crushes this. I think he hits it with assists alone, right? He had a monster night. Scored his, what did he score? His 25,000th point out there last night too. So shout out to James Harden. Yeah, he had 28 points, 15 assists, and 7 rebounds. One more cash. And you know what's funny? We got comments yesterday too. I know I'm spending a lot of time on the guppies. We got comments yesterday being like, you celebrate someone else's bet every single day if they win. And I'm like, yeah, what time? When did we get to a world where I can't be happy for Justin here, right? Like, what's that? You know what I mean? Like, I can't be happy that someone else cashed a bet and we're sharing it with the community. Like, that is a crazy mindset that it's like, no, only the wins are for me. Like, okay, guppy, but shout out to you for the ride of the day. This was an absolute banger. He says, come on, guys. Come on, guys, indeed. Guys, if you do want to be the ride of the day, all you got to use is that hashtag ride of the day in the comments. I don't know if anyone can top this one because this was a banger, but drop some bangers in the comments using that hashtag ride of the day. I'll be jumping on board with one person's pick and giving you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. Also, make sure to follow me on X at EvGuyBoston. That's where I'm posting the ride of the days if you guys want to know what the ride of the day is for the day and ride with it and interact over there. So make sure to follow me there. But yeah, drop those hashtag ride of the days in the comments. All right, let's go ahead and get into game number 1 here. We have the Washington Wizards taking on the Indiana Pacers, which should be a high-scoring game as the total indicates, right? Right now, the total sitting at 258.5. I did see 257.5 on FanDuel. Right now, that's the outlier. It's super early in the morning, so we'll see, if they're ahead of it or if they're just behind and updating in terms of line movement here. But nonetheless, guys, I do think it's going to be a high-scoring game, obviously, right? Last time they played, we saw a game that resulted in 143 for the Pacers and 120 for the Wizards, which would cash here. I could see something similar happening. There is an injury on the injury report that you're going to want to kind of monitor if you do like the over here. It's going to be Jordan Poole. He's questionable here. And though he's had his ups and downs this season, obviously that is a guy that's going to go out there and potentially contribute a lot of points for the Wizards. He's had his ups and downs. I get it. But nonetheless, keep an eye on that injury report if you do like the over. I think it'd be silly to lean towards the under here just because you have two teams that are towards the top of the league in pace. Obviously, the Pacers leading that, but also not playing much defense. Like, yes, the Wizards' offense can struggle, especially if you're looking at them without Jordan Poole, but they still are a fairly efficient team, which is so weird to say out loud because this is a 3-20 team, right? But in terms of field goal percentage here, they're ranked 6th in the league. They shoot the 10th most times. Like, that's why they're second in pace. Obviously, we know the Pacers, the reason being they shoot more than anyone and they make more than anyone. They have the #1 field goal percentage in the league. Like, this is a legit offense. So neither defense is special either, right? So the Wizards allowing the most points per game against in the entire league, and then I think it's the Pacers either at second or third. So should be a lot of points in this game. I'll lean towards the over, but that is a high number. In terms of spread here, yes, this is a bad Washington team. I understand that. I just think it may be a little too many points to comfortably lean towards the Pacers. The one redeeming quality here, too, I guess, if Jordan Poole's out, I think that +9 looks like not even gettable. I think -9 probably ends up being the Pacers side of things. But, you know, if the Pacers are pissed about that Milwaukee game and the theatrics and drama afterwards, I could see them coming in here and stomping it. So I'm on the fence. I think it's a lot of points, but I can't really get myself to lean towards the Wizards. So I reluctantly say, okay, Pacers win this game, maybe they get some late buckets and cover that 9, but you won't see me making that a final play. It just seems a little fishy, too big of a number for me. Speaking of too big of a number, I understand why this spread is where it is. We even saw this game a couple nights ago. Philly taking on Detroit. Philly wins 129 to 117. So I understand that, oh, well, they covered this last time, right? They smoked them. But I don't know if it's like humanly possible, at least in my mind, to take a -16.5 point spread. This is not college football or college basketball, a ranked team playing against a no-name team. Like, these are two NBA teams, and you have a Detroit team who, yes, 2-22 this season. They're still 9-15 against the spread here on the season. They haven't covered in, I think it's 4 or 5 straight games, so I get it, but to me, it's like I can't lay 16.5. So yes, it's crazy. It's probably something that doesn't even sniff the final plays, but give me Pistons here +16.5, just in the off chance that they decide to not decide, if they somehow miraculously keep this one close. But without Jalen Duren and even Marvin Bagley being out, like, I do think that this is a team that, you know, we could see a 20-point loss here, right? The Pistons are that bad. It's just more or less kind of by default, I can't lay 16.5, right? Like, this is a Sixers team that is getting overpriced at this point. You might as well, you know, keep an eye on them and wait for them to dip a little bit against these bad teams and pull the trigger than taking 16.5. So I know the Sixers will probably win. I know the Sixers will probably blow them out, but 16.5, damn, you're not going to get me there. The total is sitting at 235.5. I don't hate this over just because, like I said, that spread -16.5, that tells you that the Sixers are probably going to go for near 130, right? They're going to go for near 130 in terms of Vegas's projections here. How could they not? Because you're not going to win, you know, by 17 points scoring 110. Like, what do they think the other team's going to score, right? So I do think this is a spot for a potential over here. You can also get it at 234.5 over on Bet365 right now if you like that. So yeah, I'm gonna lean towards the over 235.5 here, or if we can get a 234.5, great. I'll also take a peek at the Sixers team total, because I don't mind them for over, you know, 124.5 or something like that. It's obviously gonna come down to the odds, because this Sixers team, again, you don't want to bet on a team that's starting to get overpriced. And I even said it in, what was it, yesterday, the day before the video, I said this is a Sixers team that I think I'm willing to kind of say right now is like great at the moment. Like, they're flawless in a lot of ways when all their guys click, but you don't want to bet on a team that's, you know, overpriced, which the Sixers are getting to that point as of right now against bad teams. A few teams in the league are, to be honest. All right, next up, we have the Charlotte Hornets taking on the New Orleans Pelicans here. In terms of this, it's going to come down to the injury report for me. So you have New Orleans coming off a nice 20-point win against Washington. Charlotte's coming off of a loss against the Heat, in which they did compete in that game, but ultimately didn't really close. These two teams yet to play this season, but this is a Charlotte team that really, really, really struggles against the power forward position. In the last 15 here, and this is why it comes down to the injury report, obviously, right? In the last 15, Charlotte allowing the second most points to power forwards, the fourth most rebounds, and the most assists to the power forward position. The Pelicans power forward Zion Williamson is questionable, game time decision as of right now. I think Zion could eat in this game, so some player prop looks for him if he does ultimately play here. Obviously, there's a lot going on about him. He was out of the last game as well, but people are making fun of his weight jokes and all that. He came out yesterday and said it doesn't bother him. we'll see, but maybe he has some, something to prove to the world too if he does play. I think it could be a good spot for him and the Pelicans here if he does play. I'd probably stick away from this, I guess, or even lean Charlotte if he doesn't play, because to me, yes, they just cleaned up Washington, but they could be getting overpriced without Zion. And again, I guess that's the second time we're using that sort of theme here, but it does seem like it makes a little sense to me. Like, winning by 7 without Zion, this Pelicans team, I don't trust as much. Like, I think that they're a team that they truly do need every piece. Like, even when CJ McCollum was out for a while, they struggled, right? So this is a team that they're not good enough, in my mind, in my opinion, to be a team that, they're missing one of their key players and still kind of dominate, right? And to beat Charlotte by 7 points, you could make the argument it's not dominating, but to beat anyone by 7 points, you have to control the game. And I think they might need all characters involved. So keep an eye on that injury report. I do like them winning by 7 if Zion plays. I also like Zion's player props today, if he does play a full minute assortment and whatnot. But yeah, Charlotte struggles against that position. And we're looking at the, a Zion that could be fired up about all this hoopla going on around about him, right? In terms of the total, 232, I like the over, again, especially if Zion does play, because I think there could be some up-tempo spots in this game. The one thing, and I throw this caveat in because this is a Charlotte team that plays with a decent amount of pace. They were a top 10 team, but in the last 10 games or so, they have definitely started to slide here, playing with the 6th slowest pace, or actually the 5th slowest pace, I believe, in the entire league. So, Pelicans, maybe they can kind of dictate that pace because they've been playing fairly fast, but I still lean towards the over because I don't think much defense is here, but Charlotte's been playing pretty slow as of late. So if you're rolling with that, or even if we roll with it, kind of consider that. There is a little caveat there, and enter at your own risk. All right, guys, if you didn't see yesterday, PrizePicks launched a new little thing called Gremlins, or Demons and Goblins, excuse me, and it's really cool. I mean, what they're doing essentially is giving alternate lines for better payouts and better multipliers. So this is brand new. Obviously, PrizePicks always had followed the fixed payout structure. 2 for 2 equals 3 times, yada, 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 right? Well, the green squares pay out less, but are a little bit easier to hit, and the red squares have a higher line, but if they do hit, that multiplier gets increased. So make sure to go check out PrizePicks. If you're not on PrizePicks at this point, I don't know what you're waiting for. Maybe it's just not legal in your state, but if it's legal in your state and you're not on it, you're missing out on one of the most fun DFS apps out there right now. I mean, I tell you guys all the time, Sleeper and PrizePicks, that's what I'm hammering for these player prop centric apps, right? You can get 100% of your deposit matched over on PrizePicks. Make sure to go check it out. That link is going to be in the pinned comment. You can also just download it and deposit with code GUYBOSS and get that 100% deposit matched. But this is a really, really cool feature. We've seen a couple other apps have, the alternate lines and all that. So it's good to see PrizePicks being like, all right, how can we make this our own? And this Demon and Goblins thing could be pretty damn cool. So make sure to go ahead and check out PrizePicks, guys. Again, that link in the pinned comment, 100% of your first deposit matched, no brainer. So go ahead and check it out. Now let's go ahead and get back into this slate. All right, next up, we have the Spurs taking on the Lakers. I laugh as I intro the game because we had the Spurs plus 3.5 a couple nights ago. They lose by 3 points, but they won the fourth quarter 45-30. So that should have been a loss, right, 2 nights ago. But they covered for us. So now I'm like, oh, are they a covering team? No, they barely did just cover. It took kind of miracles at the end of the game. But I also kind of lean towards the side of, well, that 7.5 points is a pretty decent number for the Spurs, right? Like, being 7.5 point favorites, they haven't covered that in 6 of their last 10 games when 7.5 point favorites or more. The problem is the Spurs on the exact side of things. When 7.5 point dogs, they also haven't covered that in 6 of their last 10 games. So I think I'm going to lean towards the Spurs here. The Lakers. Let me make that clear. Lean towards the Lakers because for 98% of that game on, what would that have been, Wednesday night, like, they got smoked. They didn't look at all remotely close to that game. The one thing that I'll say about this game is Anthony Davis on the injury report, LeBron James on the injury report, Prince on the injury report, right? Vanderbilt, like, they have a lot of guys on the injury report on the Lakers side of things. And you might be thinking, well, they're always on the injury report, they might play. If the Lakers cleaned up the Spurs without LeBron, and honestly, the bench coming in and kind of blowing the lead, like, they could have won that game by 10 plus, right? So do they sit there and say, okay, why would we waste LeBron, waste AD, like their energy and whatnot in this spot? Like, I could see them being like, okay, we don't really need to play these guys all that much tonight. We don't need to run them that much. They do have a game in 3 days against the Knicks, so they would sort of have I guess, some sort of a break. But to me, it could make sense that either LeBron and Anthony Davis don't play play, but they're on the injury report every day and then end up somehow playing, right? So take that for what it's worth. But if they don't play, then this 7.5 looks pretty good for the Spurs, because at least keeping it to 7 points with a non-AD and non-LeBron team, we'll see. But I'm going to lean towards the Spurs because I can't confidently bet the Spurs. I lean towards the Lakers. I keep saying that. I'm going to lean towards the Lakers because I can't confidently bet the Spurs. Now, the total's sitting at 234 here. When they did just last play, 122 to 119 was the final score. But again, it took a lot to get to that point towards the end of the game. So I'm going to lean towards the under in this spot. I think this stays in the 220s. Give me the under 234. The best line out there right now is 234, but the odds are a little bit different here. You can actually get it for minus 105 over on BetMGM right now, which is obviously 5 cents or so better than the normal minus 110. All right, Celtics taking on the Magic here. This Magic team, one of the better against the spread teams in the league, which is, good for them. I do think that, they're kind of slipped on them and Brooklyn, both the 2 top against the spread teams in the league. And what did I tell you since the beginning of the year? And you see how I don't mention that all that often, that I was like, Brooklyn and Orlando are going to be 2 absolute sleepers and dogs when it comes to spreads. Wouldn't you know it, they are, right? It's like I do know basketball, and the Guppies may be not the most correct people out there. But nonetheless, we do have the Celtics here, 6-point favorites. They just beat the spread, the closing line at minus 8.5 against the Cavs last night. The Celtics 1-1 this year off of back-to-backs against the spread. Orlando playing some good ball here. Speaking of the Cavs, 3 nights ago or so, they play the Cavs, and they win by 10 points. So they even out-edged the Celtics beating the Cavs, because the Celtics just played the Cavs 2 games in a row, 7-point win and 9-point win, right? But nonetheless here, I do think that this is a Celtics team that may come into this with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. They've lost 4 straight to the Magic. Last game they get smoked by the Magic, 113 to 96. This is a game in which the Celtics should be healthy, and this is still a Magic team that's dealing with no Wendell Carter Jr. and Fultz obviously as well, but they've been playing without those guys and playing well for quite some time. If this spread got anywhere even up to 7, so 1 more point, it would probably be less appealing to me, but I do think the Celtics win this game by at least 6 points tonight. Again, 7 points is almost my cutoff, so it kind of tells you, even as a Celtics fan, right? If you didn't know I'm a Celtics fan, it kind of tells you that, I do think this is a good game. I think the Magic keep it close, but 6 points for the Celtics at home. I think this could be a good little revenge spot and kind of get right spot against them. For context, the games that happened in the last calendar year, right, 2023, both games were Magic at home, and they won 113 to 98 and then 113 to 96. Now the Celtics are back home, and maybe they kind of reverse that script there. Total sitting at 222.5. Yeah, I could see this being an under, just given the fact that, we have 2 defenses that are at least 2 teams that I think their path to winning this game would be to lock defensively. We know that that's sort of been Orlando's MO this season, right? They've played some damn good defense overall in terms of where they rank in points allowed, 4th in points allowed. They're allowing them damn near 7 less points per game than the league average here. Now, the Celtics a good offensive team, and you could even make the argument even better offensive team at home, right? But this is a defense that travels for Orlando. They're a little bit better at home than they are on the road, but still a good road team, and that's pretty much what we're looking at here. So I think that this stays under the mark, but my main lean in this game is definitely going to be that Celtic side of things, laying the points. All right, next up we have Toronto taking on Atlanta. We saw this game a couple nights back. Toronto wins that game 135 to 128. I kind of wish that we ended up pulling the trigger on that. We did like the under in that game, and that doesn't come through, so maybe we should have stuck to the spread. But right now, Toronto's sitting at 2.5-point favorites. The total at 244. I'd be silly to lean towards the under again. We saw that this could be an over-type game. We've seen Toronto play in 2 straight absolutely high-scoring games, 136 to 130 against the Knicks, and then a 135-128 game against the Hawks. So fine, they're playing with a little bit of pace now. Not the time to kind of fade the over, especially when they're playing against a team like Atlanta. So I'll lean towards the over. Doubt it becomes a final play, though. My main spread pick here is probably going to be the Hawks plus 2.5 points. Now, this is a team in which I feel like they're either there or not there in terms of how they've been playing games. They've lost 5 straight games, but they've kind of gone through an absolute gauntlet when you think about it. This is pretty damn crazy. Listen to this. Milwaukee, this is their last 5 and their losses, right? Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Philadelphia, Denver, and then Toronto, who has a really good night that night. So this is like I said, kind of going through the gauntlet. The one thing that would concern me here is that they do have a back-to-back tomorrow against Cleveland, and then that's the end of a 3-game road trip, I believe. So maybe they're just like, get through this, get through it, kind of like cakewalking or sleepwalking through it. So hopefully that's not the case, but I think Atlanta is due for a win. They're 1-9 against the spread in their last 10 games, 3-7 in their last 10. This isn't a bad team. They don't play a lick of defense, which is kind of why I don't mind the over, right? But this is an offense that should theoretically be able to outrun Toronto. It didn't work last game, but they should be able to. But what do I say about the Jazz, right? Like you have a team in Atlanta that is very much like the Jazz here. They're shooting the second most times, field goal attempts per game. They're second most in the entire league this year, right? Bottom 10 team in terms of field goal percentage. So are they efficient? Hell no. That being said, I'm still rolling with them because it gets even uglier if you look at them on the road. I don't even want to talk about that. Bottom 8 team in terms of field goal percentage, shooting more than anyone else on the road this year, relatively speaking. So it's a crazy lean. Sounding the psycho alert alarm, a team that is absolutely cold. I'm surprised the Hawk is still flying, but you know what? Trae Young kind of thrives in that icy environment. So maybe we see some fireworks from him tonight. So I'll go ahead and lean towards the Hawks plus the 2.5 points. And like I said, I already talked about the over. All right, Memphis taking on the Rockets. We saw this matchup a couple nights back. Rockets ultimately win that one 117-104. I do think that this is a Memphis team that can compete with this Rockets team. I've said it all along. This is a Rockets team that struggles when on the road. They're now on the road, so they've flipped where they're playing. It was Rockets at home and Memphis on the road last game. Now Memphis is at home. This is a Rockets team that is just much different on the road here. So they're having a very good year. I'll give them their flowers, give them their credit. 12-9 this season, 15-5-1 against the spread. I believe they're in the top 5 or top 6 in terms of against the spread numbers this season. But on the road is kind of where you lose me. So to put in perspective, they're 10-1-1 at home this season against the spread. They're 4-4-1 on the road against the spread. So it's like, okay, this is a way different team, right? Not to say Memphis is anything special at home. I don't want to be, barking down that tree. They're 1-10 straight up at home, right? But this is a Rockets team that, I'm still not sure if I'm sold on, and laying 4 points on the road seems like it could be a Memphis spot for me. So I'm gonna slight lean, and as I say slight, like there's a chance this makes its way to being a final play, but it would be kind of like a flyer, I guess. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm gonna lean towards Memphis here plus the 4 points. The total sitting at 211, and also Desmond Bane's questionable in this one. Didn't play in last game. I think if Memphis gets him back, that'd be obviously some firepower for Memphis as well. Keep an eye on that injury update there. But nonetheless, the total sitting at 211.5. I got to go towards the over. I think that this is similar to last game where it's not a crazy amount of points scored, but we're getting to a point where it's like this 211.5 is super, super low. Like if I'm playing in that game, I might be able to drop some buckets and get near that over, right? And you have a Houston defense that, while it's a very good defense, and I give them, plenty of credit in the world, their road defense is nothing compared to their home defense. They're allowing the league average for points, actually more than the league average, about a point higher than league average in terms of points per game when on the road. They're at bottom 10 field goal percentage against team as well. If you compare that to where they are when just at home, you're looking at them second in field goal percentage and first in points allowed. So this is a way different Houston defense when on the road, and that's sort of the tale, right? Like the NBA is huge for home and away. So give me Memphis and give me the over here, because Memphis's defense is nothing to write home about, and you have Houston's defense that should be pushing this total down to where it is. I don't think that defense is going to show up today. The problem is, are the offense is going to show up? That's where we cross our fingers and cross our toes and see if we get a lot of points in there. But I don't mind the over in this spot whatsoever. I think that Memphis can keep this game close as well. So give me over 211.5 as well as Memphis plus 4. All right, Suns taking on the Knicks. Where do we come out with this one? The Knicks have just seemed like they are not there. Like you look at their record and it's like, okay, 13-10, great, 11-10 against the spread, but it almost seems like every time you bet on them, right, it's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing, bud? We had them against Utah. They lose by 4. They were 6-point favorites in that. So it's a little worrisome for me to look at this Knicks team and say, okay, catch 5.5, 5 points, whatever you get it at, right? Like, I don't think I like that. This is a Phoenix team that finally was healthy last game. They lose to the Nets. But if that big three plays, like maybe this is the game in which they sort of I guess you could say, click against the Knicks team here. This is a Knicks team that I don't know if they can necessarily keep up with Durant, Booker, and Beal, right? Like, RJ Barrett is their equivalent to Booker, say. Durant, Julius Randle, Beal would be Brunson. Like, I don't know if they necessarily have that sort of firepower. When you look at this team, too, it's like Beal had what? Beal shot 9 times or something, 6 for 9, 14 points. Like, there's gonna be a time in which, you know, he goes for 20. So does Durant. Booker has a 30-point game. Like, I don't know if the Knicks have necessarily that firepower, because RJ Barrett on any given night can stink it up. He's not like made yet, right? So I'll lean towards the Suns here. I think you can tell in my voice that I'm like, but the Knicks could keep it close. Like, that's their type of team. But I just can't. They have a bad taste in my mouth after that loss to Utah a couple nights back. I think that, especially them on the road, a little bit of disarray going on in terms of them on the road. They're against the spread numbers on the year, too, aren't all that great. They have a losing record on the road. Like, I'll take the Suns here at home, even though the Suns haven't looked like a home-dominant team. But in terms of the total, 230, I think it's a little bit too high. This Phoenix team, to me at least, hasn't proven to be a world beater offensively. The defense, I would actually give them a little bit of credit. I would say they're above, half or top half defense in the league right now. Does that continue when they have all their guys like Beal out there and whatnot? Maybe not. This is also still a good Knicks defense, like, albeit they lose that game a couple nights back, but that's a fast Utah team, and they held them to 117. Now, 117 on either side here probably kills this under, but I'm still trusting the defense of the Knicks a little bit. Their offense, like I said, I don't know if they keep up with Durant, Booker, and Beal, but I don't think that this is a Phoenix team that totally has proven that they can go out there and drop 130 themselves consistently. So I like the under 230.5. I've seen this at 232 on Bet365. They're the outlier right now, but we might wait this line out and see how high we can get it if we do like the under, obviously, right? And guys, that's gonna wrap for today's video. If you made it this far, go ahead and comment 26. Definitely a long video. Hope you guys do like the new graphics. So comment 26. Let me know what you think of the new graphics. Usually it just has the team's abbreviation and the colors. We did some Excel work and got the import of the logos and whatnot, so hopefully it looks a little bit better. But yeah, guys, appreciate you guys watching. You're part of the Fade Squad if you made it this far into the video. I know the guppies will be out and about today. They'll swim around thinking there's sharks in the water for now until we have a winning night, and then it's like, where'd you guys go? And where'd you guys go? Like, it's like a school of fish that hears a noise and then just go and swim away. So yeah, I appreciate everyone jumping into the comments and fighting back with the guppies, as long as we're doing it in good fun. Like, these are YouTube comments, right? So it's cool to respond. And I see some of you guys coming over the top being like, you're effing guppy, blah blah blah. Like, I get it. We don't need to, it's more banter, and keep that in mind. Just banter instead of like getting in arguments, because we don't, if you don't owe these sad people your time of day, right? So keep that in mind, guys. Stay positive. It's fun to go back and forth with people. Sometimes you guys know I call out guppies in the guppy alert shorts that we do, but keep it more fun, right? I just want to say that. But yeah, guys, hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Hopefully you guys have a good Friday here. Hopefully we have a nice little winning Friday. It'd be nice to wake up Saturday morning kind of groggy and be like, all right, we won. So we shall see. We'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.